You ever notice how people test you not with words but with silence? They ignore your messages, make you wait, twist your emotions just to see how much power they have over you. They want to see you chase, react, explode, because the moment you do, they know they've got you. Every time you lose control, you give someone the map to your mind. That's the modern game, control through emotion. They don't need to break you. They just need to make you feel. Your anger becomes their victory. Your guilt becomes their chain. Your sadness becomes their control. Machiavelli once said, "He who controls your emotions controls your fate." And that's exactly what most people fail to see. The world doesn't destroy you with force. It destroys you with emotional pressure. That's why the calm ones always win. The people who don't flinch, who don't react, who don't explain, they scare everyone. Because emotional control is power. It's silence that makes people nervous. It's calmness that creates confusion. It's restraint that builds dominance. To be emotionally dangerous means no one can predict your next move. You can feel pain and still smile. You can be insulted and still remain quiet. You can be doubted and still walk forward with certainty. That's when you become untouchable. You don't need to shout. You don't need to prove. You don't need to fight. Your silence does it for you. You become the storm people sense but never see coming. Most people want to be loved, understood, accepted. But when you want nothing, when you stop reacting, you gain something much more powerful. Control. Because the moment no one can control your emotions, no one can control your life. That's what makes you emotionally dangerous, calm, unreadable, unpredictable. And once you reach that level, you'll never be a puppet in someone else's game again. So if you're ready to master your emotions instead of being mastered by them, stay with me. This will change the way you see every interaction in your life. Now, I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. I'm emotionally untouchable. Number 1, the hidden trap of emotional manipulation. Most people don't realize when they're being controlled because it never looks like control. It looks like care, concern, love, or loyalty. But hidden beneath it is strategy. Emotional manipulation doesn't start with conflict. It starts with attention. Someone studies you, how you react, what makes you soft, what makes you angry. They collect your emotional data like a weapon. Then one day they use it. They make you feel bad for pulling away. Question yourself when you're right and doubt your own instincts. That's not connection. That's conditioning. The manipulator doesn't need to demand power. They just make you hand it to them willingly. And the way they do it is by controlling how you feel. Guilt is their favorite weapon. They'll say, "I thought you were different," or "You've really changed." Those phrases are not observations. They're traps. They're designed to make you second-guess your strength, to make you return to your submissive self. You see, emotional manipulators fear your calm more than your anger. Because anger is predictable, calm is not. When you're calm, you can't be controlled. Machiavelli once said, "Men are driven by two things, fear and interest. Manipulators mix both. They make you afraid of losing them, and they make you interested in winning their approval. That's how they control both your heart and your behavior. The most dangerous part, it feels emotional, not strategic, but it's both. When you start to feel heavy after talking to someone, when you feel drained instead of understood, that's not coincidence, that's control. They're feeding off your emotional reaction like energy. And when you stop reacting, they start panicking. That's when they'll accuse you of being cold or heartless. But that's just noise. The desperate cry of someone losing access to your emotions. The truth is, emotional. Manipulators hate silence because silence forces them to face themselves. Your silence is a mirror, and they can't stand what it shows them. So they'll try harder, fake vulnerability, play the victim, promise change, but all of it is bait to pull you back into emotional dependency. The only way to break free is awareness. Once you can identify the pattern, the power returns to you. You begin to see through every act, every guilt trip, every silent treatment. And the moment you see through it, it stops working. You start watching instead of reacting. You let their manipulation echo into your calm. You let them perform while you observe. Because the moment you stop being emotionally available for manipulation, you stop being a target. Detachment doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care intelligently. It means you understand the cost of emotional access. Not everyone deserves to reach your feelings. Some people only come close to them so they can use them against you. You must protect your emotions like currency. Only invest them where there's respect, not control. Once you learn that, you become free. Because no manipulator can survive without your reaction. They need your emotional chaos to feed their control. Take that away, and you starve them of power. That's how you win. Not by fighting back, but by refusing to play. So the next time someone tries to guilt you, provoke you, or twist your emotions, remember it's not a conversation. It's a test. Pass it by staying calm. Walk away without a word. Control yourself, and you control everything. I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. I see through manipulation. Number 2, Machiavelli's law. Emotion is weakness. Most people believe that feeling deeply makes them human. But in reality, unbridled emotion is the easiest way to lose control of your life. Love, anger, fear, and even empathy are not inherently dangerous. But allowing them to rule you is. Every time you act on impulse, every time your mood dictates your choices, you hand over your power to someone else. Life doesn't care about your heart. It only responds to control. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. He observed that rulers who allowed their feelings to interfere with their decisions always fell. He said, "Men in general judge more from appearances than from reality. All men have eyes, but few have the gift of penetration." In modern terms, that means people will take advantage of your visible emotions faster than they'll see your actual intent, your sadness, your excitement, your anger. They become a roadmap for others to predict, manipulate, and overpower you. When you get angry at someone who insults you, they gain information. When you desperately seek approval, they know your weakness. When you fall in love too openly, they see the strings they can pull. Emotional transparency is vulnerability disguised as honesty. The strongest people in any room are not the loudest, the most charismatic, or the most passionate. They are the ones who do not allow their emotions to dictate their actions. They understand that reaction is surrender and that true power lies in restraint. Machiavelli once said, "It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both." This doesn't mean you should act cruelly or coldly toward everyone, but it does mean that attachment, sentiment, and uncontrolled feeling are weaknesses others will exploit. Anger must be measured, fear must be analyzed, and desire must be restrained. Otherwise, these emotions will consume you and make you predictable. People will sense your triggers, study your reactions, and use them against you. That's why leaders, thinkers, and survivors of history mastered the art of emotional control. They smiled while furious, they stayed silent while insulted, and they made decisions based on strategy rather than instinct. You can feel love without needing it. You can feel anger without exploding. You can feel fear without letting it paralyze you. That balance is the mark of someone emotionally dangerous. It is not the absence of feeling, but the presence of discipline. Every uncalculated response is a weakness someone will exploit. The world is not waiting to reward your goodness. It's waiting to exploit your lapses. If you allow your feelings to spill over, people will see the cracks in your armor and walk through them. They will use your empathy against you, your hope against you, and your patience against you. Emotional control is the battlefield where the strongest people thrive because they are untouchable. Their calmness becomes their weapon. Their stillness becomes fear. Their unreadable face becomes a shield that no one can pierce. They feel like everyone else, but they act like no one else. They are aware of others' attempts to manipulate them, and they remain untouched. This mastery is not easy. It is forged through constant vigilance. Each day, someone will test your limits, provoke your patience, and attempt to force your reaction. Discipline is your sword. Detachment is your shield, and awareness is your armor. The moment you surrender even a fraction of your emotional control, you surrender a piece of your power, and once lost, power is rarely regained. Machiavelli's law is simple but brutal. Uncontrolled emotion is weakness, and weakness invites domination. The more you allow your feelings to dictate your actions, the more predictable, controllable, and exploitable you become. The only way to rise above this is to act with purpose, calculate your responses, and never allow your inner state to be an open book. That is the path of the emotionally dangerous. That is the path of true control. Drop this affirmation in the comments. My emotions serve me. Number 3, the meaning of being emotionally dangerous. Being emotionally dangerous does not mean being cold, cruel, or indifferent. It means that your emotions are no longer your enemies, and they are no longer weapons others can use against you. It means that every feeling you have, love, anger, pain, desire, fear, is harnessed, measured, and placed under your command. Most people allow their emotions to run wild like untamed beasts, and that lack of control makes them weak, predictable, and exploitable. But when you become emotionally dangerous, your inner world becomes a fortress. You can feel deeply, but no one can see the cracks. You can care without needing. You can be enraged without exploding. You can hurt without revealing it. Because the moment someone sees what troubles you, they gain leverage. The moment they witness your weakness, they gain power. Emotional danger is the art of transforming feelings into silent weapons. and every silent weapon is a threat that cannot be countered. Machiavelli once said, "Men in general are quick to believe, slow to act, and easy to deceive." That is the exact pattern emotional manipulators exploit. They test your reactions, push your buttons, and study your behavior until they can predict your moves. But the emotionally dangerous person is unreadable. Their face reveals nothing. Their hands betray nothing. Their body language gives away nothing. They become a mystery, and mystery is power. It forces others to hesitate, question, and second guesses their attempts at manipulation. They cannot calculate your response because there is no pattern to exploit. Being emotionally dangerous also means that you are no longer a participant in petty games. You see attempts at provocation and manipulation for what they are, and you remain still. You no longer chase approval, validation, or attention. You understand that the world does not reward sensitivity or openness. It rewards control. Your calmness is your armor, your restraint is your weapon, and your silence is your dominance. Emotional danger is also about anticipation. You recognize the triggers in others before they act, and you prepare yourself mentally, strategically, and emotionally. You don't react impulsively, you act deliberately. You turn the chaos of others' emotions into a tool for your own advantage. The more they attempt to manipulate you, the more visible their weakness becomes and the more your power grows. You are not cold because you refuse to feel. You are strong because you refuse to surrender. You may experience betrayal, disappointment, or pain, but those experiences no longer have the ability to unseat you. You process them internally without giving outsiders the map to your mind. That is why emotionally dangerous people are feared, respected, and rarely understood. They are untouchable because they cannot be controlled. They are unbreakable because their foundation is internal mastery, not external validation. The emotionally dangerous do not need to prove themselves to anyone, yet their presence commands attention. Their silence makes people uneasy. Their calmness unsettles chaos, and their composure disarms confrontation. Every step they take is measured. Every word is intentional. Every reaction is calculated. They are a storm contained within a human body, powerful, unpredictable, and untouchable. That is the essence of emotional danger. It is not about who hurts you or who betrays you. It is about how you choose to respond, how you choose to feel, and how you ensure that your emotions are yours alone. To be emotionally dangerous is to hold absolute dominion over yourself while the world around you scrambles in uncertainty. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I control my inner storm. Number 4, the 5 steps to emotional control. Mastering emotional control is not about suppressing your feelings or pretending to be unfeeling. It is about transforming your emotional reactions into conscious, deliberate actions that serve your power, your clarity, and your freedom. It is about turning chaos into strategy and impulses into choice. Step 1 is to pause before you react. Every moment you resist the urge to respond is a moment you reclaim power. Manipulators, provocators, and opportunists thrive on immediate reactions. They push, they prod, they trigger, and they watch. The instant you respond impulsively, you hand them information about your desires, your weaknesses, your fears. The pause is not hesitation. It is a weapon. It disarms the manipulator. It unsettles the provocator. And it gives you time to assess the situation with clarity rather than emotion. Step 2 is to replace emotion with strategy. Whenever you feel the urge to act, ask yourself, what is the most useful move right now? This simple question shifts your focus from instinct to calculation. It allows you to see the situation as it is, not as your feelings make it appear. Strategy turns emotion into power and power into action. Step 3 is to train your triggers. Every person has certain weaknesses, certain buttons that when pressed ignite chaos. Identify yours. Observe them without judgment, without shame, without reaction. Once you understand what destabilizes you, you can neutralize it. You learn not to react, not because you are indifferent, but because you are prepared. Preparation creates invulnerability. Step 4 is to control your face, your body, and your tone. Emotions often leak through subtle signs, a twitch, a glance, a breath. Eyes give away curiosity, mouth gives away contempt, posture gives away tension. Mastering these channels is mastery over perception. If others cannot read your emotions, they cannot predict your decisions, and they cannot manipulate your behavior. Silence, stillness, and measured expressions communicate power more effectively than any words. Step 5 is to say less than necessary. Words are ammunition. Every statement you make can be twisted, used, or weaponized against you. The less you reveal, the less they can exploit. Speak with precision. Speak with purpose. Speak with restraint. Silence is not emptiness. It is the gravity that pulls attention, the calm that unnerves chaos, the space in which you remain. Untouchable. Emotional control is also an ongoing practice, not a single achievement. Every day someone will try to provoke guilt or manipulate you. Discipline is not a one-time act. It is a continuous battle with your own instincts. Detachment is not indifference. It is the art of observing without surrender. Restraint is not weakness. It is the demonstration of your command over yourself and your environment. When you master these 5 steps, pausing before reacting, replacing emotion with strategy, training your triggers, controlling your expressions, and speaking minimally, you become untouchable. Your calmness forces others to hesitate. Your awareness makes them second guesses. Your silence strips them of leverage. Every interaction becomes a test that you are prepared to pass. Emotional control is not about denying your humanity. It is about elevating it. It is about using your mind, your perception, and your will as instruments of dominance in a world designed to exploit weakness. The more you practice these steps, the more invisible your power becomes. People sense it even if they cannot define it. They feel it in your presence, your reactions, and your decisions. That is when you are truly emotionally dangerous. Not because you suppress your feelings, but because you master them with precision, patience, and purpose. Now, I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. I act with calm power. Number 5, build your emotional fortress. Your mind is a battlefield, but it can also be a fortress. Most people leave the gates wide open, letting every insult, every opinion, every emotional provocation slip in and wreak havoc. They allow others to occupy their thoughts, to dictate their moods, and to undermine their confidence. But you are not most people. Building an emotional fortress means creating boundaries so strong that no one can penetrate them without permission. It is the ultimate expression of control. The first layer of this fortress is awareness. You must recognize what belongs inside your mind and what must remain outside. Not every comment deserves weight, not every gesture demands attention, and not every action should affect your internal state. The world will constantly test your defenses, but your awareness allows you to filter what enters. The second layer is detachment. Emotional independence is your moat, keeping chaos, manipulation, and pressure at a distance. Detachment does not mean apathy. It means observing without surrendering. You can see deception, manipulation, and provocation for what they are and remain untouched. This distance ensures that no one can exploit your feelings. The third layer is discipline. Discipline is the foundation that prevents cracks in your fortress. It is the training of your thoughts, reactions, and behaviors so that you respond intentionally rather than instinctively each time someone tries to trigger you. Discipline ensures that you remain calm, silent, and strategic. The fourth layer is self-respect. A fortress is useless if the owner allows outsiders to trample its walls. You must value your peace, your focus, and your power above anyone else's approval. Self-respect is the inner guard that ensures your boundaries are enforced without compromise. The fifth layer is resilience. No fortress can withstand constant siege without repair. Life will test you. People will attempt to provoke, manipulate, and break you. Resilience ensures that when cracks appear, you reinforce them immediately. Pain becomes a tool, betrayal becomes information, and pressure becomes an opportunity to strengthen your walls. Machiavelli once said, "A prudent man ought always to follow in the paths trodden by great men and imitate those who have been supreme so that if he does not attain their greatness, he at least will get a reputation for prudence." Your emotional fortress is built the same way by observing, learning, and emulating the ways of those who remained untouchable under pressure. Each insult dies at your walls. Each attempt at manipulation bounces off your defenses. Every emotional assault becomes a lesson in fortification rather than a wound. Inside this fortress, you are untouchable. Calmness is your architecture. Silence is your weapon. Awareness is your guard. Outside, chaos may scream, but inside you are sovereign. You decide who enters, who is allowed to influence your mind, and who is banished forever. You hold the keys to your thoughts, your reactions, and your power. Building this fortress is not passive. It requires vigilance, constant reinforcement, and the courage to confront uncomfortable truths about yourself and others. But the reward is absolute independence. Once your walls are complete, no manipulator, no opportunist, no emotional predator can infiltrate your mind. You operate from a place of sovereignty where external chaos has no dominion over your internal state. That is true emotional mastery. That is the essence of being untouchable. The fortress you build is invisible to most, but its strength is undeniable. It makes you confident, fearless, and impossible to predict. It turns emotional attacks into harmless noise and manipulative attempts into lessons in control. Every day you reinforce your walls. You grow stronger, sharper, and more formidable. Your inner empire becomes your ultimate weapon, and no one can seize it unless you allow them. I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. My mind is untouchable. Number 6, maintaining emotional power. Emotional power is not something you achieve once and then forget. It is a continuous battle, a daily exercise in vigilance, restraint, and strategy. Every day, someone will attempt to pull you into their drama, provoke your anger, or manipulate your sympathy. The world is full of people who want to make you react, who want to test the boundaries of your composure, and who seek access to the weaknesses you have hidden from the world. Maintaining emotional power means never giving them that access, no matter how subtle or persistent the attack. The first rule is observation. You must become an expert at reading intent without revealing vulnerability. Notice the tone, timing, and patterns of others' behavior. Recognize who thrives on chaos and who attempts to elicit reaction. Understand that people rarely act randomly. Every emotional tug, every silence, every slight has a purpose. Awareness transforms attempted control into harmless information. The second rule is restraint. You must resist the urge to respond immediately, to argue, to defend, or to justify yourself. Restraint is not weakness. It is strength in motion, every withheld. Reaction strips power from manipulators, removes fuel from provocation, and preserves your internal authority. The world expects emotional responses. Refusing to give them breaks their scripts. The third rule is detachment. Emotional power requires that you live from a place of inner independence. No one should have the ability to dictate your moods, your focus, or your decisions. Detachment is not apathy. It is sovereignty. It allows you to feel without surrendering, to notice without being ensnared, and to interact without being owned. The fourth rule is discipline. Every person encounters triggers, moments of weakness, or situations designed to break their calm. Discipline ensures that these moments are opportunities to practice mastery, rather than occasions to lose control. It requires training, repetition, and an unwavering commitment to self-command. The more disciplined you are, the less anyone can predict, manipulate, or destabilize you. The fifth rule is continual reinforcement. Emotional power is not static. Every day brings new challenges, new provocations, and new tests. You must reinforce your control, rebuild any cracks in your composure, and refine your strategies for remaining unreadable. A single lapse can undo months of mastery. Machiavelli once said, "It is double pleasure to deceive the deceiver." Maintaining emotional power works on the same principle. When others attempt to manipulate you and you remain untouched, the satisfaction comes not from revenge but from absolute control. They expect chaos. You offer calm. They anticipate weakness. You demonstrate dominance. They seek to sway you. You remain immovable. Over time, this consistency becomes a reputation. People learn that you are not a target, that you cannot be provoked, and that attempts to exploit you are futile. Your presence alone becomes a deterrent. But emotional power is also internal. It is the ability to process disappointment without bitterness, betrayal without collapse, and provocation without impulsivity. You do not need to display this power to anyone. It is invisible, yet palpable, subtle, yet absolute. People will sense it in the way you hold yourself, the way you speak, and the way you move through the world. They will hesitate, question, and second-guess us because they cannot predict, control, or unsettle you. Maintaining emotional power also means understanding that control over others is secondary to control over yourself. Your reactions, your focus, and your inner state are non-negotiable. No situation, no person, no insult, no manipulation can disturb them without your permission. That is the ultimate power, the power that requires no approval, no confrontation, and no validation. You operate in the world untouchable, unshakable, and unexposed. The strongest person in any room is the one who does not need to prove it, who does not seek reaction, and whose internal authority is absolute. Every day you maintain this power. You reinforce the foundation of your untouchable self. You become someone who cannot be owned, read, or controlled. You transform chaos into information, pressure into strategy, and provocation into demonstration of mastery. The man who cannot control his emotions will always serve the one who can. That is the truth most people refuse to see. The world does not reward kindness, explainers, or those who wear their hearts openly. It rewards control, precision, and mastery over self. If you have followed this path, if you have learned to pause before reacting, replace emotion with strategy, train your triggers, control your expressions, speak only when necessary, build your fortress, and maintain your power, then you're no longer a pawn. You're the one who sets the rules. You're the one who determines who influences you and who does not. Your emotions belong only to you. Your decisions belong only to you. Your mind is your empire, and it is untouchable. The people who once tested you, provoked you, and attempted to pull you into their games will notice the change. They will sense your calm. They will respect your restraint, and they will hesitate before trying to manipulate you again, because nothing is more intimidating than someone whose internal world cannot be invaded. You do not need to prove yourself to anyone. You do not need to shout, explain, or justify. Every interaction becomes a silent demonstration of mastery. The less they know about your reactions, the more power you hold. Emotional danger is subtle, invisible, and unstoppable. It is the quiet storm that people sense but cannot anticipate. It is the fortress no one can breach. Remember that this mastery is not permanent unless you maintain it. Every day will bring tests, provocations, and attempts at manipulation. Your control is a practice, a constant war with impulsivity, desire, and distraction. But the rewards are absolute freedom, respect, and authority over yourself and your world. You are untouchable not because you dominate others openly, but because no one can dominate you at all. This is the path of the emotionally dangerous, calm, unreadable, unpredictable. Your emotions are your servants, not your masters. Your mind is your territory, and no one can invade it without your consent. So take this knowledge, carry it with you, and apply it relentlessly. Guard your reactions, strengthen your inner fortress, refuse to be owned. Because when your emotions belong only to you, no one can control your life. You become untouchable. You become formidable. You become the storm everyone fears but never sees coming. If you have learned anything from this, commit it to action today. Become the master of your own mind. Become emotionally dangerous. And remember, true power always starts within. If this message resonated with you, make sure to like this video, share it with someone who needs to see it, and subscribe to the channel for more strategies that will transform the way you navigate every interaction. Now, I want you to drop this final affirmation in the comments. No one controls me.